There are a few critically acclaimed games and series I haven't played. I can blame it on my massive backlog, but the main reason has to do with laziness. I haven't played any of the Kingdom Hearts games or any of the early Final Fantasy games. For the longest time, my excuse would be that I didn't want to use an emulator to play the Kingdom Hearts games. Now that it is on Steam, I can no longer use that excuse. When it came to Final Fantasy games, I just didn't care to play the games after playing Final Fantasy X. Let's just say I lost the Blitzball, and because of it, I never returned. I know that isn't fair to quit on the game because of a mini game, but after failing to win, I quit. Should I give the game another try after all this time? Yes. Will I? No. Main reason is because if I were to play the other games, it would be in order and most likely for stream. That would truthfully be the only way I finish and get to the other games. Of the Final Fantasy games, I own 8, 12, 13 2, and 14, which as you can tell, 10 is missing on that list. That doesn't mean that I refunded the game, but that I don't own it on PC. Now, let's be honest, you don't need to play the other games to experience everything. I play FF14, which is the MMO, and I believe I played a bit of 12 on my Steam Deck. Also, I'd probably just wait till the earlier games get remade before trying to play them all in order. When it comes to Kingdom Hearts, I was just lazy, never cared to buy the game. Also, I never saw a sale for the game that drew me in. I think the most I saw it on sale for was about $25, which is basically 50% off, but not enough for me. When it comes to older games, I'd rather pay less. But understandable if there isn't a bigger sale because of the fact that the game is in high demand. I think the only other series I would want to play, but don't have all the games, would be the Yakuza series, which is another series where you don't have to play the other games to enjoy it. I would also want to play all of Fable, but there is only one on Steam, and I already finished it. You also have the Shin Megami Tensei games, so a lot of games to get to. Of the 7 games in the Yakuza game bundle on Steam, I only own one, which is Yakuza 3. The newest Yakuza game is not included in this bundle, so we'll have to buy it separately. Other than those games, I don't really know what other series or games will be included. Then again, there are a bunch of games that people would call classics and must plays. Something that comes to mind is Octopath Traveler and all of the Dragon Quest games. The games will take hours out of your day, so always have to decide what to play first. Also, probably all the Mafia games, as I don't believe I'd be in all of those games. I own all the games on GOG, so maybe one day I'll decide to play the games. So let's talk about some real life things now, since that is a key part of these videos now. So I'll talk about how I had 2 gigs recently. Both of them went well, to a point. So the first one was a loadout that lasted way too long. So our call was at 4:30, which truthfully is a really weird time to start working a gig. We didn't really get inside until about 4:45 because the show was still going on. But I believe all the departments were done by 6 p.m. But sadly, truck didn't arrive till 8:30, so we were all sitting around just waiting. It took about 20 minutes to load the truck. Then we were out of there once that was done. If truck came earlier, then I wouldn't have gotten home at 10. But whatever. The second gig also went by fast, but getting there wasn't the best. So the area the gig is in is going over heavy construction. Like every other street is getting worked on, which is great. Not great, when it reduces how much space you have to move around. Anyway, I'm about a few blocks away from the gig. The car door opens up on me, and thankfully, I braked in time. My hand went into the car door, and thankfully I didn't fall off my bike. Some skin scraped off my hand. I thought that was all that happened. So I talked to people and then went back to work. I got to the gig, and then saw a bunch of blood coming from my finger. So yeah, that happened. Before you ask, no, I didn't feel the blood falling down my hand. There wasn't much pain. Even a day later, my finger is a bit sore, and I can't really bend it fully without a minimal amount of pain. Outside of that, the workday was pretty short, since we just dropped things off, and once all that was done, the day was done. We ended about 3 hours earlier than planned, which was amazing, except one of my gloves fell out of my pocket. So I put my gloves in my hoodie pocket when I don't wear them, so I don't have to put them in my book bag. But I have no idea when it fell out, but I suspect it was when I was carrying my bike up a set of stairs. But I did buy new gloves, which said it would arrive next day, but that was a lie. But other than that, the day was pretty uneventful, except for almost being taken out by a car door. Also, it is funny because you always see these bikes going straight into a car door and flipping over, but thankfully that didn't happen to me. Then again, I was to the direct side of the car and wasn't trying to be close to it. If there wasn't construction going on that limited the space of the street, then I wouldn't have interacted with the door at all. Also, my bike toppled a bit, but didn't really lose my balance, thankfully. So when it comes to Undertale, I believe that I played it once before. Even though I played it before, I only beat it once. That means I only saw one ending. So when it comes to this game, there are about 2 main ways to play, which is Genocide or Pacifist. There's also the neutral route, which is a mixture of the two, I believe. The Genocide run consists of you fighting every enemy and not talking anything out. I do believe once you start killing, then it drastically changes things in the game and how characters react to you. When it comes to the Pacifist run, talk things out. Play this weird puzzle game to find out which dialogue selection allows you to spare the opponents. Now, if we were to give these routes a difficulty setting, then I would say genocide would be easy slash normal, and pacifist be more hard mode. I usually go for normal difficulty, but I want to go for a good route instead of corrupting his child on their journey. So I actually heeded the advice from the first nice person you meet in the game. Person who can essentially be your mother to the point you can call her mother. The first thing she tells you is to talk things out and not just resort to violence, which is the easy way out. To explain how much I avoided combat. I literally didn't equip a weapon until the end of the game. So in this game, you can attack, act, and spare slash flee. Acting gives you different actions, so that combat or the spare option gets easier. For some enemies, you just have to choose the right option, and then they lose the will to fight you. For some, you have to choose the right options back to back in order to get the enemy to stop wanting to hurt you. When it comes to sparing, there are times you have to spam it till it worked. Other times you would have to go through the act minigame in order to activate it. Most of the times, you would have to act in order to spare the enemy. So I keep saying spare without explaining what it is. So in this game, if you don't want to kill an enemy, you spare them. But saying kill doesn't really explain much. So I have no idea what happens when you kill people. Because I did a passive run. But when I did have to fight someone and inflict damage, I still had the option to spare them. So sparing enemies after fighting them usually gives you a new ally slash friend. That means more story, more people to talk to. How was the pacifist run? I guess the best way to explain the run is to explain the story. In this game, you're a human that somehow finds your way into the land of demons. There are no humans in this world besides you. So there will be no camaraderie between you and another of a fellow race. The demons are trapped in this underworld and are unable to escape. For years, they dream of seeing the overworld. In order to do that, they have to sacrifice 7 human souls to open the barrier that bars them access. How we, a small human child, got down to the underworld with a barrier that bars anyone access, the world may never know. But because of this, anyone figures out that you are a human, then they may want to sacrifice you for their freedom. As a good thing, you don't look much different from demons, right? So the game has you covered. Humans are a rarity. So not many know what humans look like, since it has been a long time since the last one was seen. Then again, you don't really meet that many high-ranking people that would know what a human is, that looks like. But again, this is a pacifist run, so talking is all you do. Because of this, the game will feel more like a visual novel than anything else. It'll be hard to really talk about combat in this game when you do the pacifist run. I said earlier that you just focus on actions more than attacks. In order to be true to the pacifist run, you cannot attack unless there is no way to progress. If you have ever played visual novels, then you would know that you need to select the right dialogue options to progress. Unlike visual novels, where you have to deal with your bad dialogue selections, you can keep selecting the options till you find out the right one. Now, you may ask what you lose out on if you don't select the right option. Well, if you don't select the right one, you have to do some combat. Combat being, the thing my friend called it, a bullet hell, which is pretty accurate. But you have to dodge all the different projectiles till time is up. So the longer you take to find the right action, the higher possibility you get hit from the projectiles. There are also enemies that go passive as soon as they are alone. It's actually really interesting to figure out. A lot of this game is figuring out what actions work with the different enemies. Once you figure it out, it makes this game a lot easier, while on this path of non-violence. But even though I call it pacifist hard mode, the truth is that the game isn't that hard. Once you figure out the right dialogue actions, you don't really have to worry about anyone. If you want to keep the pacifist run alive, you have to make sure not to attack or kill anyone. So I never once thought I would break my pacifist vow. Then again, if I felt that I was succumb to the carnage, I just look up the fight to see if it was possible to spare. Now, I would advise against this, because a lot of the information is behind spoilers. So I would just say to play this game blind, but I would also advise against it. The main reason is because you only have one save file. So there isn't really a way to reset after messing up. That is why I decided to actually look up to see if I can spare the enemies. Now the truth of the matter is, there was no reason to actually look up this information. The pacifist route is one of the 3 major routes, so there's definitely a way to spare all the enemies. Once I saw it was possible to spare the bosses, then troubleshooting started. So once I started what was essentially an end game, I was locked out of using spare actions. I had to actually attack for the first time in the game. The game changed from a bullet hell dodging simulator with dialogue selections to a game where I had to time my inputs at the right time to get the most damage out of my attacks. Again, this happened in the latter half of my playthrough, so it wasn't that easy to get adjusted to the fact that I needed to attack. Then I had to actually start thinking about attacks because I didn't have a weapon equipped until this point. So because of this change, I had to think about weapons and also the attack button, which truthfully isn't really something you have to think much of unless you want the fights to go by fast. Again, the fights in which I had to actually attack were boss fights, not the regular enemies in the world. The game has 2 different items that your character can equip. You have your weapon, then you have your armor swords. Weapons will give you a certain amount of damage. You can also change how you attack. So for most weapons, you have to time a moving bar to a certain part of the screen to do the most amount of damage. There are some weapons where you can stack 4 attacks on an enemy, but the same kind of attack mechanic. Which means, instead of timing one bar, you're timing a bunch. That makes attacking a lot harder, since you are trying to time multiple bars at different intervals. Again, I wasn't used to combat, which makes sense because I died a ton to the last boss. I don't know how I feel with the game shift at the end. Went from this dark and trippy game where I had to find the best way to make my enemies happy, to this game where I had to beat them up and tell them it was okay. It was a very weird 180 from everything I was dealing with. Because of this, I had to go on a hunt for weapons, because besides the weapon you get at the beginning of the game, I didn't collect any. Now, I did collect a ton of items in the game, I definitely used way too early. During this game, you'll find a ton of things that can be used to fight. Also, things that can be used to heal you in these fights. After playing this game to completion on the past first run, I have to tell you one thing: save your healing items. If you fail a fight, you can usually just fight it again without missing anything, even if you win, but have very little health afterwards. There's usually a save point nearby. Thankfully, this is the type of game where the save points heal you to full. That has saved me after many fights. When it comes to the healing items, the main reason I say save them is because some of the items can be used to make fights easier. There are certain items that if used against a certain boss, increase your chance of winning. But when you play this game blind, you kind of just use everything to your advantage. I believe I was able to get every offensive and defensive item they had in the game, except for one. So there's this hidden area in the game. If you pay off someone's college tuition, you get a chance to buy a piece of armor. The bad thing is, even after paying off that egregious debt, you have to pay a ludicrous amount for the armor. The good thing is that, the more you die in combat, the less the armor costs. But reading the backstory of the armor, the reason you would even buy the armor would be if the final fight was giving you too much trouble. I actually wanted to buy the armor set, but I would have had to grind a lot in order to get the armor. If I wasn't streaming the game, I may have done it. Is this game worth the cult classic hype? I would have to say that it definitely is. You're the pilot of your destiny, and have to guide your friends to their destination. This is one of those games where you actually can believe in talking to you too. The reason I say this is because in one of your first boss fights, losing isn't really a loss. I lost so much time to this boss, but he kind of just let me go since I kept going back to fight him, which is something that the game does really well. Is exploring saves. This game does well with remembering your actions and how you got said actions. That is shown throughout that boss fight, also the way you achieve the pacifist route. In order to get the true pacifist route, you have to spare all the enemies you find in the game. You are allowed to fight bosses, but are not allowed to kill them. You also have to essentially beat the game twice in order to really see the full scope of the story. I think the best way to experience the game is through the pacifist route, because you see everything that is hidden in the shadows. When you start this game, you are told to kill by the seemingly innocent flower by the name of Flowey. Even if I didn't know anything about this game, I still wouldn't trust some random creature telling me to kill in the game. Also, not many games tell you to outright kill enemies, but to defeat them. It could be because many games rather the word defeat, even though you would kill enemies outright. In a ton of RPG games, it would say you defeated the enemies, even though they are dead. But you get to know a lot more about this Flowey character. It also helped them out in the end. To me, this is the best solution for everyone included, demon and humans alike. You can also probably tell there's a ton of replayability in this game without me saying it. The fact that there are 3 main routes to go through tells you that. I also believe that there is about 80 or more ways for the game to end depending on your actions throughout the game. I think the beauty of this game is that it's simple, but amazing in its simplicity. Your whole goal in the game is to leave and get back to service. You don't really go through many areas to get to your goal, but the game excels at backtracking. You miss out on a lot if you don't go back and check on your friends and the important people you met on your journey. The story is alright, even though I wouldn't call it the most amazing story ever, but it felt like a very bittersweet story that had a very fulfilling ending. My only question when it comes to this game is how did that character make it down to Underworld? I don't believe that this point was ever explored in the game. If it was, then it went over my head. The funny thing is that a lot of times I miss things if it is voice acted, but not if I had to read the lines myself. But I also don't really care to see how the other routes pan out, because how save files work in this game. You only get one save file, which means that if you want to do another route, you have to overwrite your save. I always hate when games limit your save files, especially ones where you only have one. Because of this, I have no need to reset the world and have people suffer because I was curious. I also don't know if my ending really ended well for the demons. The main reason is because I don't believe that people would see demons and me to be peaceful. Truthfully, history in this game has shown the opposite. Overall, I am happy I was finally able to play this game. If I were to play this game again, then I would have started the game on the genocide run and then did the pacifist run. That way I would feel better for bettering their lives in the second run since I ruined it in the first run. But sadly, I didn't do that, so I'm not going to ruin their lives just because of curiosity. I would definitely recommend this game, since it was a lot darker than what I expected. We'll leave the next video as a surprise, because it has been a while since I've done that. Also, you probably realize my voice has changed a bit. I've been testing my actual voice versus my streamer voice in the videos. I can finally fully understand my voice in these videos, so we'll just stick to that. Anyway, going to bike and get some food, so we'll see you later. Anyway, my name is Oninkapis, that's my time. I hope you all have a great day and amazing week. Later days. I love you all, sending you kisses, consensually. Mwah. I love you all. Bye. Love you. Bye. Bye. Hope you all have a good one. Peace. Bye.